Fans want Boxing Ego to tell him, was Chris Eubank Jr. weight drained in his rematch with Conor Benn? So in this video, I got to do my thing. I got to do my job and let you know. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, a topic going around is that Chris Eubank Jr. did himself no favors and was weight drained for the Conor Benn fight. Now, I did a full-fledged breakdown of the fight. You can find that video on my channel. Everything in this boxing game that is worth a dang, I go over. So make sure you check out the Chris Eubank, Conor Benn 2, What Really Happened, which is my original series, right? And if you listen to that video, you will know that, yes, I do believe, spoiler alert, I believe Chris Eubank was weight drained in the fight. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to break it down before y'all get mad. Oh, Ego, but Ego, please, what would you say that? Oh. Because I know how the internet gets. There's a saying that goes, two things can be true, right? So did Chris Eubank Jr. sign up for 2 fights at this particular weight and signed on the dotted line and agreed to it? Yes, absolutely. But two things can be true. That doesn't mean there's a lot that people will sign up for. Don't mean that, like, for example, we'll use another boxing example. Kell Brook signed up for a middleweight fight against Gennady. Hell no, guys. Hell, Michael's guys is nothing. His punches, guys is tick, tick, tick. Nothing. Right? So Kell Brook signed up for the Gennady Golovkin fight. At the time, Golovkin had like 21 knockouts in a row. He was the bigger dude, and he was a menacing puncher. So from welterweight, he moved up to middleweight, which is foolish under most circumstances, especially when you're moving up to fight a bigger in-prime guy. Now, Crawford just recently did it, but nobody really believed, even before the fight, that Canelo was in his prime. In fact, Canelo really has slowed down and showed slippage, right? That's the reality of it. But the point I'm making is Kell Brook signed up to go from welterweight to middleweight. Cool. But you seen that was not a good choice, because not only did he have his first loss, he got stopped, he got stomped, and he got his orbital shattered. And then Errol Spence did the job on the other eye, being the southpaw. So that you could very well argue that that Triple G fight ruined Kell Brook's career. You know what I mean? Because you get beat down like that by a bigger man, that's going to stick with you for a while, especially when you got a bad eye region, damage or whatever that you took. So that's an example. Yeah, Kell Brook took the fight, but like I said, before the fight even happened, I actually have a video, 7 reasons video why that fight shouldn't have happened, but whatever. It happened. It is what it is. So this is no different. Chris Eubank, he signed up for it, but he shouldn't. Just like Kell Brook shouldn't have signed up to fight a middleweight puncher like Golovkin without acclimating to the division. But this is the luck of the draw. So do I believe Eubank was weight drained? Absolutely. If you know boxing, then you know what I'm talking about. The man looked like a dead man, right? He couldn't really get anything off. His reflex and reaction time looked pretty bad. Dave Allen, and the UK can be extremely biased with their commentary, but shout out to Dave Allen. He was like, he looked awful. He looked shot to bits. He looked, shot to pieces. He looked absolutely terrible in there. And I'm not taking away Conor Benn. Either way, Conor got the win. So nothing I say will change that. His box rec is still going to show that he beat him. But credit to him, he made proper adjustments. And him going up in weight and being younger, it didn't affect him as much as Chris Eubank. Other people have come out like Oscar De La Hoya and Shakur Stevenson suggesting the same thing. And again, if you know boxing, you know what it is. Definitely feel like he was weight drained, but this is why fighters need to smarten up. Getting paid is cool, but preserving your name and your brand and your integrity is also cool, if not cooler to me. But fighters do this all the time where, Kell Brook, I'll prove to the world I could beat Golovkin. All right. And then you get cooked. Amir Khan, I'm going to move up and play Canelo's game with no rehydration clause, nothing to protect me. And then he got cooked. He was asleep with his eyes open. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. To be honest, these fighters need to smarten up because there's multiple ways to get paid in the sport of boxing. And they were linking Chris Eubank and Hamza Shiraz's name to a possible Canelo fight. And had he won versus Conor Benn, the fact that Canelo's off of a loss, to me, that looks like a proper fight that Canelo would take coming off a loss to Crawford. Because he's not going to – I don't see Canelo fighting Hamza Shiraz directly off his loss or somebody like a Benavidez, somebody who's super dangerous. So I think he would go with somebody who, has some losses, got stopped before in the Liam Smith fight, guy like Chris Eubank. But now you got cooked by a smaller man, and at the end of the day, no one's going to be really requesting or calling for that fight now. So, yeah, you did the Conor Benn rematch, and then to me, it wasn't even worth it. It really wasn't even worth it. The first fight was cool, I guess, but people overhyped it. Like it was like a legendary fight. Like you're really going off the names of your fathers and the lineage, and they try to make it into this big deal. The second fight particularly did not have a big buzz at all. And then now you got cooked by a smaller person, 36 years old, about to have twins. I mean, where does Eubank even really go from here? You know what I mean? It's always going to be worse when you lose to a smaller person. And for me, to do this fight at 160 again after you beat him was foolish. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If that was me and I had already beat him, right, I would make things a bit more favorable, like 163, 164. That's reasonable. And then if he was like, nah, I'm not moving up that much, then we don't fight. These fighters got to get tougher. Not like they're not tough in terms of getting punched, but I'm talking about tougher in terms of negotiations. Fighters have a lot of times big egos, no pun intended, and they just feel like, I don't care if he on steroids. I don't care if he on PEDs. I could beat him. And they have this like mentality, and then people shun a guy like Floyd Mayweather because he said he want to fight fighters on an even playing field. So let's do Olympic-style blood and urine tests. And people at the time, at least, they were making it sound like Floyd was in the wrong because he wants to be on an even playing field. So that mentality is stupid. Keith Thurman did it. He said he don't care about VADA testing. He don't care if Pacquiao takes something. Why would you say that? Why would you want to be clean and then you don't care if your opponent is clean? Like, I'm competitive as hell, but I want to be competitive against a real competitor, not somebody who's like juiced up to the gills and then I got to fight Super Shredder. You know what I mean? Come on, bro. Like, I don't believe in cheat codes. Like, if we're going to do a relay race or a decathlon, it need to be fair and equal on both sides. So I don't know who's advising Chris Eubank, why his people would put him in there, but he really could have got seriously hurt because Conor Benn, he was mad he lost, and he has the fighting style where he's mad, aggressive, and wild. Chris Eubank his face was all ballooned up in the first fight. kind of lucky it wasn't even worse. And he wasn't like badly hurt until that 12th round. And then by then it was like the fight was over. But being depleted and drained and dehydrated in that way, that could have went a lot worse for him. You know what I mean? Because you're basically an empty vessel and you're hung out to dry and you're going in there really like not at your best. Now I get it. Sometimes the fighter might be sick or have a headache. You can't really control the onset of a headache or migraine or a fever or sickness. So there are times where you have to battle adversity, but why put one on yourself knowing you fought at 168 and 160 in the first fight, you barely made it. And then there's some people, because they looked at the weight and he came in like underweight or whatever, they're like, oh, he made the weight so easy. He made it easier this time. He just fought in April. So yeah, it might have been a little bit easier to come at that number, but you got to look at the totality of the situation, which is you went through a war and a big struggle in the first fight in April, and then months later you're trying to do it again, and you think your body's going to be like up for it at age 36, not like 22 or you're 24. You're doing it at 36. What you guys got to understand about boxing don't work like that. Like, you got guys who get beat down. Sometimes they need a year and a half off to replenish. And even though Chris Eubank won the first fight, he probably should have took the downtime. But, you know, money and like pride and ego, like, oh, I can't lose to this small guy or whatever. It's just a dumb formula. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you won the first fight, but then they show pictures of your face and it was all lumped up and you struggled to make weight and you had to, use a sauna, and then the commission was mad at you for using the sauna. You had to do all this type of stuff, and you thought, how many of those do you have in you? You know what I mean? That's why Floyd Mayweather is definitely the GOAT, because he said the least punishment you take, the longer you last in the sport. Punishment is not only punches, it's also bad camps, fat camps, where you're like going, oh, I got to lose 60 pounds in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? That's still a form of punishment because you are punishing your body, right? It's not just punishment like, wow, I got hit with a hook. You know what I mean? You're a bad camp and bad sparring etiquette. All that is punishment as well. People just took the Floyd quote as if it meant only in the ring fights. No, punishment could be like drinking alcohol or poisoning your body with drugs or bad sparring etiquette, bad weight cuts. That's punishment as well, right? And that's the reality of it for Chris Eubank Jr. is like, how many more of those do you have in you? That's why I don't recommend fighters going in war after war after war. Your shelf life is going to go real quick because, yeah, you got through it April, you got a victory, but you really had a fight for that. That was like a difficult fight for you. That was a tumultuous fight. So how many times you going to keep doing that and then be cool, especially if you don't give yourself too much time to rejuvenate and recover? You know what I mean? It's like if somebody went through a car crash and, all right, you lived. You had minimal damage or no damage. You can't keep driving reckless and then get in another car crash. Fate is not going to be on your side and be so forgiving. Like, cool, you got through this car crash, right? And you didn't really take any damage, but you can't keep reckless driving with no seatbelt and then tempt fate like that and think you're going to keep being able to go through car crashes and your body is not going to, you're not going to break your leg, your neck, your arm, fatality. You know what I mean? Like, it don't work like that. So if you survive this car crash, you should probably, if it was your fault or whatever, improve your driving so this don't keep happening, because there's only but so many times your body's going to go through these blunt force trauma occurrences and events and be cool. So, yeah, to me, it was foolish for Chris Eubank to even take this fight this quick and at that particular weight again. And then now Conor Benn is like, trilogy over. So now it's just stuck on he cooked you almost every round. Everyone's saying you had an abysmal performance, and you got dropped twice by a smaller man and almost stopped in the final round. I wouldn't want to end no trilogy on that, but that's just me. So I would have been smarter with the negotiations instead of just being like, hey, I just went through a tough fight with you, and he's the younger guy, aggressive guy, and this weight cut's not going to hurt him because he's not doing the weight cut. He's like, I'm going back down to welterweight. So it ain't no weight cut for him. He's bulking up and essentially to fight you. Whereas you, a guy who fought at 168, I don't know what is walking around weight, you got to deplete yourself at a more advanced age than him to be there. So it was just dumb, but it is what it is.